started Arrosta Coffee Roasting Company in 2007. It was Simon's gig initially. He was looking for a change in career, and there was an opportunity to get into the coffee industry. I had a corporate background and was management consulting, so I continued doing that for a period of time until the business got to a stage where it was past being a one-man band, so therefore we made the decision that I'd join the business as well.
We opened up a retail outlet. We saw the market then was developing and people's tastes, and people wanted to learn more about coffee. So in 2010 we opened up an espresso bar, took the business out of the garage, put it into a warehouse out the back, and from there we've just grown and grown. In 2015 we bought a roaster and we started roasting ourselves in our site at Victoria Avenue, and we're very quickly outgrowing that because people love to come in there. So as soon as we put the roaster in, we put a big window in so people can sit and enjoy coffee and watch the guys roasting.
Currently we have two locations in Palmerston North. We have the roastery and the espresso bar on Victoria Avenue, and we kind of call the training and cupping lab, which is only a couple of doors down, part of that. We also have a coffee container, which is an espresso bar based out in Kelvin Grove on the corner of Kaimanawa Street and Mahari Drive.
We didn't originally want to go to an Italian word, but we did, and so the Italian word for roast is arrosto, but it doesn't roll, it doesn't sort of work. And then from there someone said we should go arrosta, we should kiwify it. So we made it arrosta. And then a few days later we just kept talking about it and it stuck and we liked it. So after about a week we decided to go from arrosto to arrosta. It is the basis of an Italian word for roast, but then it's made for the Kiwi tongue, if you like. Same as the coffee.
It all begins by, well, for us here, weighing up usually the day before, and that just gives the green beans a chance to equalise in temperature and humidity and settle down so they become a little bit easier to roast. And in the morning we would flick the roaster on and wait for it to heat up and make sure that the thermal energy in the drum is kind of consistent and even all the way throughout. And we've moved to a batch roasting, so that will be single origin roasting for our blend and all single origins. And that way we can roast each origin the way that we want to and accentuate various particular flavour characteristics like acidity or more chocolatey flavours depending on the origin. A typical batch will go for roughly 15 minutes, not usually any longer. Sometimes the smaller batches go a lot quicker, around that 9 to 11 minutes. And from there we'll go through however many batches we need for each origin. And we typically roast them all one origin at a time and then the next origin. And having back-to-back batch roasting just gives us that much more consistency, and from day to day we can find varying degrees of the exact same roast. So it really comes back to the temperature and humidity and how hot the drum is and what the quality of gas is that we're getting from the street gas. It's always never a dull moment. And that will see us through to usually after about midday. And at that stage we'll flick the roaster off and let it cool down just naturally. And come back about an hour later and the drum can be flicked off and we can begin blending and bagging up all the beans and putting them on the shelf or sending out the orders. The blending process is kind of like the Colonel's secret recipe of our ratios. And we weigh up very precisely in small batches just so we can maintain the consistency sort of between bags, because weighing up a too large a batch may find inconsistent variation of the different percentages from bag to bag, so the smaller the better. And we typically blend for between 5 and 15 minutes depending on how quickly we can get them through.
Coffee to me is social, to be fair. For me, it's nice to provide a place where people can come to build relationships and to connect, whether it's in an espresso bar, you know, when people are nipping out for a break in the morning. We find that, and what we see is that a lot of people come in and they come to get their coffee, but it's also a time just to take time out from their busy days. For me, it's about having rich and meaningful conversations about coffee, really.
Coffee culture has evolved tenfold of the days of the sort of 1980s where you get the big frothy cappuccinos and lattes to more textured milk. Green bean suppliers are getting better as well. Just everything there has just sort of gone in leaps and bounds from 10 years, 5 years, like to 20 years ago. So it's phenomenal.
There are some green beans that inherently have those particular flavour characteristics within them. As you roast those beans, that's what you're trying to draw out and amplify in terms of the flavours. We know that our market, for example, not just Arrosta's market, but the market of people who drink coffee in New Zealand even, really do prefer a chocolatey, nutty, sweet, cocoa-y kind of flavoured coffee. Here in New Zealand, 90 to 95% of coffees are milk-based coffees. The milk that we actually are able to put into our espresso coffees cuts through some of those flavours and complements it so well, the sweetness of the milk. It all accumulates and culminates in this amazing chocolatey, nutty, caramelly kind of flavour, and I think for the most part, that's what our general market is looking for.
Once we roast our beans, we want to sort of check the consistency and the quality of how the roast is going. So we get samples of each roast that we do. We cut, for example, we roast a Colombian, we take a sample, we then grind it quite coarse there. We put that in a little cupping cup, which is just sort of like a no-handle cup. We add boiling water to that at a certain temperature, about 97 degrees. We fill it up almost to the top there, and then we let that sort of seep anywhere between sort of 4, 5, sort of to 7 minutes there. We let that sort of all soak into the water there. It forms a little crust, so all the coffee that we ground sort of floats to the top. We then break it with a sort of a bit of a technique there with the spoons. We sort of sweep the spoon across there, and it actually breaks a crust, and that sits on top. You can get a really good aroma of the coffee there and sort of the distinctive flavours that are coming across. We then push those grinds there to the bottom, and then we're left with the black coffee there. From there, we get our spoon and we slurp as you sort of run it across your palate of your mouth, just to sort of get some distinctive flavours and the flavour notes that you're trying to get from that particular roast.
It's not something that the local market's quite got into yet. They don't understand it. They don't understand it's part of the end product, and they don't understand the reason for doing it yet, but we're slowly but surely educating people.